If you have an online business, you've probably heard of the ubiquitous know, like, and trust factor. It's that conveniently vague term that online marketers like to throw around to make you think that they've got the secret to six-figure success. It's like if you have a strong know, like, trust factor, then you'll have a wait list of raving wannabe clients. But they got one thing wrong. The know piece of the know, like, and trust factor isn't about them knowing you. It's about you knowing them. When they feel like you really get them, then that like and that trust will naturally follow. So how do you do that? Well, I've got 5 tips for you. Hey, I'm Megan from Grafton Creative, where I work with creative entrepreneurs to clarify their business objectives and get to know their dream client so that we can blend those 2 sets of goals into a brand message that we can portray on their website in a way that attracts, engages, and converts more clients. First things first, you've got to know your ideal client. And a good place to start with that is just with observation, or listen only mode, as I like to think of it. So you want to go into Facebook groups, research in blog comments, in Instagram captions, even in Twitter chats. You can also check out forums like Quora or Reddit. So you want to go in and just observe. You're not interacting at this point. Just listen to how people describe their struggles, their pain points, their desires, what they're really looking for. Okay? And make note of this. I have a free spreadsheet that you can use. It's just a Google Sheet, no email sign up required, and I'll put a link to that underneath this video. So grab that and it will kind of guide you through what you're going to need to look for when you're doing this observation. The next step after just observing, you want to start interacting with them, ask them questions, get their answers, and make sure you're really listening. So you can do this by sending out surveys to your email list. You can do this by interacting on a Twitter chat or in a Facebook group. But I think the best way is just if you schedule 5 to 10 people to just chat with via Skype, or if you can meet them in person, that's great too. What you want to do is look for patterns in the way that people describe their struggles and their desires, and make note of that in your research doc. But you also want to get to know the way that they speak about the problem and try to understand maybe what the underlying cause is, and see if there's a connection between the underlying cause of the different people that you talk to. It's really about finding patterns and identifying connecting threads among this data. I know you're tempted to skip this research step, but it is so important. It's the foundation that's going to inform every future aspect, from your website design to the copy to the way that you market. So please don't skip this. And speaking of website foundations, I actually have a free workbook for you that goes through the first 3 steps that you're going to need to have in place before you start designing or writing a word of copy. So that's down here. Also, make sure you check that out when this video is over. Okay, tip number 2, interpret the data. So you want to go beyond what you hear them saying, okay? Because this is the most surface level, and we want to go a little bit deeper than that. So how can you synthesize this research and pull out some small grain of truth that maybe they're not even fully cognizant of yet? I'll give you an example. Say that during your market research, your ideal client describes herself as an idea person or the visionary, and she feels kind of flaky or like she lacks follow through to finish any project up. But once you get to know her better and through multiple research points, you realize that maybe it's not that she's lacking follow through. Maybe the problem is that she's a people pleaser. She wants to say yes to every project that comes her way, and so she's jumping from project to project, but she never has enough time to actually finish and follow through, and so she's feeling frazzled and overwhelmed. Now you've struck gold, because now you can describe your ideal client's situation in a way that makes her say, yes, you get me, and you can offer her up this aha moment of clarity. So she's like, oh my god, that is true, and she feels like you really care and that there's a real connection because you actually understand her. So on to tip number 3, offer value. Once you've elicited those connection building responses, you want to give generously, because we like people that give us things, right? So like I said, it can be an opt-in freebie or content upgrade that people submit an email address in order to receive. It can be in your blog posts that are very detailed, and maybe you do video tutorials, or maybe you have a podcast that's completely free. So just make sure you think of ways that are offering value that are relevant to your ideal clients' pain points and desires, which you found out about in the research phase. Tip number 4 is to be specific. I have come to realize that specificity plus consistency and research is really the formula for success in online business. The more specific you can be, the better. You want to be specific with who you serve. I could say, I help online entrepreneurs, or I could say I help creative entrepreneurs that sell services online to other businesses. Number 2, be specific with what you do. So I do not do all web and graphic design and development in the world. I specifically design for websites, and I specifically develop custom CSS and code to go with Squarespace sites. Number 3, be specific with how you work. So is there some signature process that you take people through every time? For me, I use my goal-driven design process, which starts with getting clarity around your business goals and your dream clients' desires so that we can blend those into a brand message on your website. So what does your signature process look like? And make sure that that's evident in your copy. Also, you want to be specific with your calls to action, your buttons, your links. Make sure that you're not just saying submit, because I definitely will not submit to anything. Make sure that your link doesn't just say click here or learn more. You really want to give context, even if it's not on the link itself. Make sure it's around the link, that you're providing specific context, because if people have some small doubt or fear about what's going to happen before they click, that small hesitation might make the difference between them clicking and continuing on your site or just bouncing. So we want to eliminate the hesitation, remove all friction, and just make sure it's really clear and specific. And then just overall specificity with your website copy. Then lastly, point number 5, look legit. You've heard of the phrase fake it till you make it? Well, that's a great confidence boosting mantra, but it's a website credibility killer. You don't want to fake knowledge or act self-important. I know it seems a little bit counterintuitive when you're trying to be seen as the expert, but people actually trust people that are seen as relatable rather than being seen as like an authority figure. So it is crucial to be candid on your website, but it also needs to look professional because it is your digital storefront after all. So one great way to do that, aside from design, is to amplify your testimonials, because people buy from people that have helped people. So if you can get those great success stories and showcase them on your site, that's going to add a level of credibility. So to recap, to increase the know, like, trust factor on your website, you need to get to know them, your audience, like really know them. You need to be specific in the way that you talk to them, showcase your success stories, and you need to give generously. If you've watched this far, then you are a rock star, and I know that it's important to you to have a website that speaks to your brand message and looks professional and connects with your ideal customers. So make sure that you don't leave without grabbing these free resources that I have below. You can get the user research spreadsheet that I use, as well as my website foundations workbook to walk you through the foundational 3 steps that you need before starting any website project. And lastly, I am going to be doing more of these videos, so don't forget to hit subscribe. I'm not sure where that is right now, but you'll find it. Like and leave me a comment. Which one of these 5 tips was the biggest aha for you? All right, thanks.